Welcome to North Burlington Baptist Church. Each week, we share meaningful messages from our Sunday gatherings that are meant to encourage your heart, strengthen your faith, and walk with you wherever you are in life. Together, we explore God's Word and discover how His truth speaks into our everyday moments.
Good Friday is always a different kind of service, eh? You don't know whether you should be happy or if you should be sad. And I think it's rather telling that it encompasses the breadth of human emotion in this one event. You don't have to look far to see that the world feels like it's in serious trouble. News headlines, images, and stories can leave you feeling that something is deeply wrong, maybe even in a way that we've never experienced before. Right now, there are more armed conflicts around the world than at any other time since the Second World War. And many countries are involved in fighting beyond their own borders. And at the same time, hundreds of millions of people struggle to find enough food. And about 318 million people face urgent food shortages. And many countries also face serious stress around clean water. These are grave matters. But we don't have to travel around the globe to see this. Here in Canada, food banks report record numbers of visits. And 1 in 4 families are needing help just to get through the month. Studies are showing that our sense of unity as a country is weakening. People feel more divided and less connected to one another. And according to the 2026 World Happiness Report, Canada's ranking has fallen to 25th in the world, down from 5th just 12 years ago. And Canadian young people under 30 are now among the least happy age groups globally. Even if you do not know the numbers, many of us feel this heaviness inside. We carry grief and stress and a sense that our world is not as it should be. These are grave matters. They're grave matters not only because they're serious, but because they're deadly. People die in wars. People die from hunger. People also suffer and sometimes die earlier because of stress, anxiety, and worry that wears down our bodies and our minds. And you might be wondering, why are we talking about this on Good Friday? Shouldn't we be talking about Jesus and the cross? The answer is, this is exactly why we talk about Jesus' death. Grave matters are the reason Jesus died on Good Friday. In his first letter, the Apostle Peter writes, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." He's saying, throw all your worries and fears onto God because you matter to him. Another way to say this is that all your grave matters matter to God. The Bible teaches that the broken things we see in our world are not just bad luck or random accidents. They are the fruit of evil at work in our world. Sometimes evil shows up through human choices, through selfishness, greed, hatred, and violence. But the Bible also says that behind these things, there are dark spiritual powers that are more than just human. Powers that pull us away from what is good and right. And this is why Jesus died on Good Friday. The worries that keep you up at night, the injustices that crush people, the violence that destroys communities, and the despair that seems to grow around us, these grave matters matter to God. God did not look at our suffering from far away and shrug. Instead, God came into our world as a human being, Jesus, to set things right. And because our grave matters matter, Jesus' grave matters. You might be asking, what does the grave of Jesus from 2,000 years ago have to do with my life and with all these crises? The Apostle John writes, the reason the Son of God appeared was to destroy the devil's work. In simple terms, Jesus came to confront and undo evil at its deepest level. The Bible tells a story about how this all began. It says that at the start of human history, people turned away from God and believed lies instead of God's truth. They trusted a spiritual enemy called Satan more than they trusted God. And when they did this, they handed over their rightful role in the world. Instead of living under God's good leadership, they became trapped under the influence of this enemy. John also wrote that the whole world is under the control of the evil one. This is not saying that everything is as bad as it could be or that people cannot do good. It is saying that there is a real spiritual power pulling people and systems away from love and justice and peace. The Apostle Paul explains that we were in slavery under the spiritual forces of the world, meaning we were not as free as we thought. And we can see the effects of this. We see it in war, in corruption, in racism, and abuse, but also in our own hearts. Many of us want to be better people, but we find ourselves doing the opposite of what we intend. We feel stuck in patterns we do not like anger, addiction, selfishness, or despair. And we can't break free on our own. From the beginning, God made a promise. A deliverer or Messiah would come to defeat this evil. Jesus is the Messiah. In another part of the Bible, Peter describes Jesus' mission like this: God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and power, and he went around doing good and healing all who were under the power of the devil. And another passage says that by dying, Jesus broke the power of him who holds the power of death, that is the devil. In other words, Jesus did not come to teach nice moral lessons. He came to fight a real spiritual battle. He came to free people from guilt and shame and the power of evil and from a life that feels empty. He came to invite us into a new kind of life where we can join him in resisting evil and bringing healing into our world. But to do that, something had to go on to the cross and into the grave. And that someone was Jesus. On the cross where Jesus went, the greatest showdown of all time took place. It was not love versus pain or kindness versus suffering. It was the power of self-giving love against the power of evil. Evil grows when it's passed on. When someone hurts you and then you hurt them back, or you hurt someone else, evil wins twice. First, evil wins when the original harm is done. Then it wins again when you return harm for harm. Paul said, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. The Croatian theologian Miroslav Volf explained that evil needs two victories to fully win: the original act and the act of revenge. And during Jesus' crucifixion, evil tried to get its second victory. Jesus was beaten and mocked and nailed to a cross. All the evil of the world was pressing in on him. If Jesus had responded with hatred or cursed his enemies or even just held on to bitterness in his heart, evil would have won. Just one act of spite, one moment of pride, one angry curse under his breath would have made him no different than the rest of us. But Jesus did not respond in that way. The Bible describes him as silent, like a lamb being led to be killed. Instead of cursing his enemies, he prayed, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. Jesus carried the weight of all human sin, the wrongs, the failures, the cruelty, and the shame without ever giving in to evil himself. In 2 Corinthians 5:21, Paul wrote, God made him who had no sin to be sin, meaning he took on the full weight and consequences of human evil, even though he himself was without sin. And in Hebrews, we're told that for the joy set out before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame. He endured the mocking, the spitting, the humiliation, the pain, and death, all without striking back. This is where love won. Jesus went to the deepest place of human suffering and evil, and he did not return evil for evil. He let evil do its worst to him and still responded with love, trust in God, and forgiveness. In doing so, he defeated every power and dominion that stands against God. When Jesus was buried in the grave, he carried all of that with him: the sin, the guilt, the spiritual powers that accuse and condemn. The grave matters because Jesus took all of this down into death and left it there. Evil and death tried to hold him, but they could not. That is why his grave matters. What difference does that make for us? When we put our trust in Jesus and give him our lives, something deep happens. Our old life, the one shaped by sin, shame, and separation from God, is joined to Jesus' death. Our sin is buried with him. In Paul's letter to Rome, he writes that we are people who have died with Christ, and our lives are now hidden with Christ in God. This does not mean that we suddenly become perfect or we never struggle again. It means that the deepest truth about us changes. Our failures no longer have the final word. Our past no longer defines our future. The power of evil is broken at its root, even if we are still learning to live in that freedom. But you might be asking, if Jesus defeated evil, why is there still so much evil in our world? Evil still has power in the lives of people who do not yet want God's rule and love. Just as humans once handed their lives over to the rule of evil, they are now invited to hand their lives over to God. Evil took people's lives through deceit and destruction. God seeks to win people back through sacrificial love and an offer of forgiveness. The offer stands as long as the person lives. God does not force anyone. He invites, he woos, he calls, he shows his love in Jesus, but he also respects our choices. When our life on this earth is done, our decision to accept or reject that love is complete. This is another reason why the grave matters. It's not just a hole in the ground. It is a marker that our time to choose has passed. This Good Friday, as we face grave matters in our world and in our own hearts, the message of Christianity is this: your grave matters matter to God. Jesus' grave matters because of what he carried and left there. And your response to Jesus matters because it shapes not only how you face this broken world, but also what comes after the grave. You may not have all your questions answered. You may not even be sure what you believe, but if something in you longs for a different kind of life, for freedom from guilt, for hope beyond the death, for love stronger than evil, then Good Friday is for you, because the grave matters. You got rocks today. They're symbols of those things that we carry. For some of you, that rock's not nearly big enough. You feel the weight of burdens. Maybe it's a diagnosis. Maybe it's the death of a loved one. Maybe it's an addiction. But every day you carry this weight and it weighs on you. For others, it's just like a pebble in the shoe. It's always in the back of your mind. It's not like it's heavy. It's just that it's hard, and it makes walking through life difficult. And though you try not to think about it, it's always there, just bothering you. Whatever it is, that thing that holds you back, that thing that's like a rock in your life, a burden, you have two choices. You can take that rock with you. You can continue to carry that rock out of this place, or if you like, you can come and put your rock in this grave, symbolic of the grave of Jesus. You can take that thing that burdens you and you can say, Jesus, I trust you even with this because I'm tired of carrying it. And you can leave it here because you can't actually receive communion with full hands. Empty your hands of those things that burden you. Come and receive from the God who wants to feed you, to refresh you, to give you life so that you can walk in this world. You know, as I look around, there's still some rocks on a few chairs. And as you walk out of this place, you'll see people still carrying their rock. They don't know they're carrying it, but they are. It's a weight. It burdens them. We see it in the anxiety of our world, the stress of our world, the worries of our world. And what they'd like to do is they'd like to pass their rock on to you because they're tired of carrying it. Sometimes we'll tell them where they can get rid of their rocks, and they won't like it. And they'll throw their rocks at you. And our choice is we can pick up the rock and throw it back and let evil win and multiply evil in the world, or we can pick up the rock and carry it. We have that choice. We have that power. Because when they throw rocks at us, they don't know this, but we know it. We're dead men. They can't hurt us. We died with Christ, and we have the power of Christ in us to endure the pain just as he endured the pain and to share his love just as he shared love. Go in the grace and in the power of God this week. Experience his love, share it with others, and no longer carry the weight of the rocks that you now carry.